Hi there, it's Brian Sebastian, Movie Reviews and More, worldwide TV network, Women on TV.tv, iHeartRadio, and all the platforms around the world. I wanted to talk to this guy for a long time. Let's start here. Russell, who are you and where are you coming from?
Hi, Brian. My name is Russ Kunkel, and I'm coming to you from San Clemente, California.
Now, I have to always start here. I've done your brothers, I would say, because of how close and how you guys have grown up. And I so admire the history of what you guys are doing. I've had the opportunity to talk to the Funk brothers. Um, 13 out of the original 17. The other two had passed away who played on all the Motown hits. I had a chance to talk to five other people from the world class wrecking crew, which that was an honor talking to Hal Blaine and everybody. I didn't get a chance to talk to Carol, but man, what they did. And now here you guys come along. You guys have been together for a long time. I love the history of what you guys have done. As one drummer to another, I played everything but a drum set. You played with all these people. What is that like playing with all these iconic people? But at the same time, growing up with your friends who you guys have been together for, I think, almost 50 years, if I'm correct. What's that like?
Yeah, well, I think you're referring to the Immediate Family, which is a band that Danny Korchmar, Waddy Wachtel, Lee Sklar, Steve Postel, and myself have. And all during this pandemic, we've been kind of busy building our brand and writing songs and putting out singles and videos. And it's amazing to have the history with these guys that I have. We've played on a whole lot of iconic records with some of the best singer songwriters and artists in the business, and we've been very fortunate. And now we're at this late part in our lives where we're getting together and doing something for ourselves, which has been incredibly rewarding. We are really having a ball doing it.
I think the also good thing is, today's news, and I immediately started thinking all my musician friends, because I'm that movie guy. I'm used to seeing your works on the big screen. As that disc jockey back in the day, the late 70s for me, I was always looking at everybody, the art on the back of the album. That's the one thing I miss. I used to love looking at that. Where was this recorded? Who played on this? And, when I see things like that, that to me is history. You guys are history in my book now because of what you guys have done. When you guys first started, you're just thinking, hey, you want to play in a rock band. Some of you might have wanted to play in maybe in a jazz band. And then you have this long relationship of you guys are kind of playing together, but also going on tour. And then the lockdown comes. And then you guys get a chance to do your album, which is in holding right now. I can't wait to hear that. And a documentary with that, I really cannot wait to see on you guys and the friendship and interviews on that. That to me is really, really exciting. What's that feeling like for you?
Well, you've probably already spoken to a few members of the band, so some of this stuff is going to be repeated. So you know what's coming up. Yeah, Danny Tedesco has been shooting a documentary on us, and it should be coming out hopefully by the end of the year, if not first part of next year. Uh, while we were doing this in the 70s, all of us playing on the Warren Zevon records, the Linda Ronstadt records, the James Taylor records, while we were doing that, we were just happy to be working. You know, hindsight's 2020. Looking back on it now, it's easy to realize that it was important, and we were lucky enough. It was a quite a bit of serendipity, really, and a little bit of a perfect storm that we were all in LA at the same time when Carole King wanted to record Tapestry, when James Taylor was going to record Sweet Baby James. I played on the Joni Mitchell Blue album. It's like, it's like looking back on it now, if that's all that I ever did was play on those three records, that would have been enough. I would have considered my career to be very successful. So, but we were all very lucky, very fortunate to know and work with these iconic singer-songwriters and artists. And I think to answer your question, we didn't know it. I knew James Taylor was different. I knew he was good. I knew Carole King was really special. But to the degree that their careers have gone on, it was hard to see at that point in time.
Yeah.
Much easier now.
I also think it's very, very interesting because today Live Nation announced outside the US that it's almost that time for people to start getting back ready. And I've been telling people since July of last year, because I can see a lot of things that other people can't see. I mean, usually am I right? And for this, I'm like, you gotta right about until April 15th. You better have all those songs written. You better have your chops going up because time is gonna go quick. It may seem like it's been going slow, but it's gonna speed up, and all of a sudden, it's gonna be mid to late summer, and people are gonna start to go on the road little by little and testing everything out. By October, everything is going to want to be spread outside the US. And then by the time January comes around, NAM time or CES or even Oscar time, everybody's going to be on the road. It really is going to come quick. So, everybody's going to be on the road. Can you imagine that? I mean, I can't even fathom that.
Well, I think imagine imagine the floodgates opening. The first horses out of the gate are going to be the big acts because the promoters, the Live Nation, and the IEGs, they're going to want to have the biggest acts that are going to make them the most money. And however that's going to look, and the rest of the rest of the pecking order will fill in behind that. But yeah, it's going to be different. I don't know if they can open up to capacity crowds again. Until the world is in some sort of herd immunity, we'll see how it goes. It's going to be amazing to get back to work and to get back out on the road and to be able to play again as a band is something we're all really looking forward to. Actually, chomping at the bit, to be honest. But we're looking forward to it.
One of the things I liked during that lockdown, I saw it coming. I started working on all the stuff that we were doing October 3rd of 2018. We were really preparing for May 2018, everything being environmentally friendly, sustainable, and having the first test model for net zero. When I was finding our products, I found our hand sanitizer, Ellipto hand sanitizer, 5 years ago. It's only got four ingredients, organic, Ellipto on that. We found that, and I was trying to get them on cruise ships, get them in hotels, and I'm like, you guys are going to need this stuff. And all of a sudden, they become first responders. What did we need last year? Hand sanitizers. When you guys go back on the tour, you're going out with hand sanitizers. You're going to have these things. Little by little, you will get rid of it, but still, you're going to have to get a chance to addition to that. New breathing habits. You're going to have to be in more shape because this is not the old days of touring like you guys used to be. That'll be fascinating, I think.
Well, I think some of the protocols that we've all accepted into our life because of COVID, we will stay on. I know that when I'm flying, even after herd immunity, I'm going to wear a mask on a plane. I know when I go into Costco or go into a grocery store, I'm going to wear a mask. I haven't had a cold this whole year, and I usually get at least one cold a year. I think there's going to be a lot of things that come out of these protocols that if you keep them in your life, we're going to be a healthier nation for it and a healthier world. And I hope that everybody looks at it that way.
Absolutely, I agree, and I tell my co-hosts, I have 12 female co-hosts. I'm like, this is not going away. The Japanese, the Chinese, they've been wearing masks for years. Did you not notice Starline Tours? I was helping them when they come to Hollywood. They were wearing masks. It's been ingrained in the society. It was only a matter of time before we were going to do that. I remember them wearing it back as far as 1999. And
Oh yeah.
with Starline Tours, what's missing in Hollywood? There aren't any Starline Tours. There aren't any Asian tours. They can't. And I said, if you didn't see that coming, that's kind of on you because I've been talking about it for three and a half years.
Yeah.
What kind of drums or are you professionally, and what do you really, really like to play on? Because I always like Remo drum heads, but I don't know what drum heads you had. In that earlier sound and studio sessions for you, how much of a difference does that make for you?
The drum heads?
Yeah, drum heads, and what kind of drums do you like to use?
Well, I play DW drums. That's what I play right now, and I'm incredibly happy to be playing those drums. They're absolutely amazing, and I play Remo heads. I play I use innovative percussion sticks, and I play Paiste cymbals, and I also use LP percussion instruments. So back in the day, a lot of those records that I played on, some of them were played on an old Sonar kit that I had. I had Remo heads on them. I had Zildjian cymbals. Some of those records, I played an old Pearl kit that I had.
Oh,
In
wow.
my career, I played Sonar, Pearl, Yamaha, and DW. And all along the way, I had a couple Gretsch kits that I bought on my own just because I liked them. So that's pretty much what I played throughout my whole career.
As you guys were locked down, I forgot who it was. I think it was Steve Postel. Was telling me how you guys would get together. I think every Friday and call it a gig, which I thought was interesting, just to stay connected. I think that's actually pretty cool.
Well, it's kind of our corporate meeting. You know, we're a band now, and so we're kind of we have it's the business of the immediate family, and we have a Friday meeting with our two managers, Fred Crochelle and David Halfont, and we just talk about what's coming up, what's going on. We got a EP release coming right up in March, a new 5-song EP with a couple focus tracks. The first focus track is a song called "Can't Stop Progress." We just turned in all of our video stuff that we shot ourselves of ourselves for the song. We send it into a great editor named Mike Palmetter, and he puts it all together and puts out our videos.
What was that like? That's completely different. What was that feeling like to do that? You're in your house and you're putting your your part together as that drummer. And so is it like you had to set your own camera up, or they had someone come and set it up for you, or what?
No, we had to do a lot of ourselves because we didn't want to be around anybody else. So we all had to buy some gear. We all had to buy a green screen. We had to buy lights and tripods and stands, and be able to set up. You know, we'd come up with a concept for the video. We'd talk about it, about how we want to shoot it, and we'd all shoot similar backgrounds and things. And I have a very dear friend of mine here in San Clemente where he has a big man cave with a stage on it, and I
Uh-huh.
have a drum kit set up there, and so when I have to shoot my parts that are on the drums, sometimes I shoot them there, and sometimes I go up to DW to the DW factory in Oxnard, and I'll shoot some of the stuff up there. But it's arduous because it's something that we didn't have to do before, but
Yeah.
we've been having fun doing it, and our videos have been coming out really good.
Well, Russ, the good thing is it's, you're not going to be locked down that much longer. Time is going to start speeding up. And like I said, it's like you said also, you guys are going to be out the gate real quick. And I know I'll be happy for everybody who needs to work, because 2020 for us was our best year. And I said, what we have to do, we have to help those people like yourselves, help them get the words out. You guys have entered our world of what we do normally. Normally, I'd be doing one-on-ones in the Beverly Hills Hotel, or the Four Seasons in Beverly Hills, doing this stuff. So we all started switching to this because it was easier in general, but we all still miss seeing our friends and stuff. It's not the same. Even when I get together with my co-host, Leland has been to our Hollywood um, radio show. Scott Page came, Kenny Arnold. We liked it. They liked it because it's open. It's new. They didn't even know it was there, and we didn't want a lot of people to know. We want to keep it small, but at the same time, it's open air. And as soon as you go in, you're like, wow, this is really cool. That's what we like about it. So, the other guys, the brothers, as I would say, they want to come now because they heard about it through Leland. And, we had our mask on, and I've got great shots of me and Leland and with our shield and his mask with his long beard. And it was really cool. It was an honor to do that, because how often can you get, why everybody's locked down, be in a nice, clean place that we set up ahead of time, because no one was going anywhere. A lot of people still are afraid to go out, and it was just an honor to have that happen. And my job is to help get that documentary out, because I love the Wrecking Crew. Andy's a great film director, and I want to make sure that you guys look good from our point of view also, because once you guys are on the road doing stuff, you're not going to have time to do podcasts. Any of you, you've already done that stuff. You're like, you want to play in front of your hometown, your fan base, as I would call it, around the world, no matter where it be. And that's going to be great.
Well, I think it's going to be a little bit of both, Brian. I think that just like the protocols, the health protocols that we've accepted, some of those we're going to carry on into the future. And I think some of the things that we've learned about communication during this lockdown, i.e., Zoom conferences and things of the like, I think some of those are going to carry on because we know how to do it. We have the tools, and they are convenient. Like I fully anticipate that we could be doing a Zoom interview backstage before a show that goes out to all of our fans, or we could be
Yeah.
doing one after the show. So I think somehow some of these elements will be incorporated into our lives in the future.
What is it you want to see? If you had the choice, and you had 3 locations and you guys could do it safely, and I'm sure you really will, what are the first 3 places that you would love to play, whether it's closed down or not, and why? Because you've played in a lot of iconic places, whether it be studios on the East Coast or on the West Coast, or just when you guys went on tour around the world.
Well, that's an interesting question. I've played in a lot of venues around the world, but the only reason I got to play in Carnegie Hall is because I was playing with James Taylor. This band right now is not going to play Carnegie Hall or Wembley Stadium. I mean, so there's a list of places that I would love to play, but I think for this band, some of our favorite places to play, one is the Iridium in New York City.
Mm.
That's kind of where one of the very first places that we played together as a band, and they love us there, and we can't wait to get back. We've there's places out here in California that we played before that are really good. We love to play the Coach House again.
Oh
We
yeah.
did a video shoot from there, and there's some places up in Santa Barbara that we played that we'd like to play again. But there's a whole world of venues out there that we haven't played. That those are the ones I'm looking forward to.
See, and that'll be fun. The one thing I do know from our our fan base, they're looking forward to seeing a lot of people, and I think that's really great. I really look forward to, the lighting crew, the people, who put all everything behind the scenes. I look forward to helping them get back because we know they've been suffering the most. And wouldn't it be nice if there's not enough jobs to go around because everybody's going on tour and more people ended up getting hired a different way, whether it is a virtual film crew or whatever the case may be? I think that would actually be pretty cool because, like you said, that's a cool idea. Maybe before you guys go on stage, and then maybe afterwards you guys do it Zoom, Skype, or whatever the case may be. I think that's pretty cool.
You know, a lot of this may be happening already, but if I was an artist that had the ability to take a crew and a band on tour, and like a Sting or a James Taylor or something, I think one of the first things that I would do once I got out of the gate and back into touring is I would set up a system to have the crew participate in some of the money that's being made above and beyond their salary, to kind
Absolutely.
of help, give them a little breathing room, and I mean, right off the top of my head, the first thing I would say, like, do the first 2 shows and give them all the money, and spread it out among your crew, and then finish the rest of it, because, and a lot of these crews have gone to the four winds because bus drivers are probably, tour bus drivers now are probably truck drivers,
Yeah.
right? Or doing some total other job, right? Some of the people that are working on lighting crews and sound crews had to find different jobs, and there weren't many to find out there. So some of the great people that were maybe part of your family and part of your crew, you might not get to have back anymore. So I hope that where people can and they can't afford it, that they give back to the really hardworking crews. That without them we couldn't do a show. The bus drivers, the techs, everybody.
I agree. I used to march in a drum and bugle corps uh, in my earlier years, and you age out at age 21. And one of the things that we appreciate was going on tour. We went on tour in the summers, and we would get to 10, 12,000 miles within, you know, a month and a half, if you can imagine that. And we're kids. And so, we're practicing 8 to 12 hours in the hot sun. And I was talking to Kenny Arndorf about this. I go, you were playing with John Cougar Mellencamp in Indianapolis. Did you ever see, Indianapolis Star? He goes, yeah, Brian, I saw them. I didn't know what it was. And I started crying because of the discipline. I'm like, yeah, that's where a lot of us went. So when we weren't performing, we were listening to what you guys were creating. And then back before online, we could play Chuck Mangione, we could play Chuck Correa, Spanish Fantasy. We couldn't do it now because of the rights, because of internet. But believe me, I learned classical music from Phantom Regiment from Rockford, Illinois. I didn't learn it from high school. I learned it from a drum corps. And then when I'm seeing you guys play and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, here's Russell's name. Oh, I love the way he drums. I wonder what he's playing on. So I never knew those things. So as us drummers, we always admire, we would talk about you guys all the time. Little did I know, 20 years or 25 years later, I'd be talking to all you guys. I had no idea. That to me is pretty cool. So now my friends who turned me on to this, and I grew up in an all-white high school in East Lyme, Connecticut, town of 7,000 with only 3 Black families. They would kidnap me and make me listen to classic rock back then. And thank God they did, because now they're watching me do all the interviews. And I go, Ryan, aren't you glad we kidnapped you back in the day? I'm like, thank you, because my first concert was Ted Nugent. They didn't tell me where I was going. I'm like, I'm going to go see Ted Nugent. What? Why? Because it was my birthday. And I never forgot it. And I was glad to be there. And that's what opened the door for me to what you guys were creating.
Well, Brian, it sounds like you had some great friends back then.
Oh, yeah, we're still friends now. So now what I'm doing, I'm inviting them on our shows. And I'm like, I'm putting them together because, again, had it not been for them, my favorite song of all time is Ain't Talking About Love by Van Halen. So when I got a chance to meet Eddie, and, who's now passed on, and his Wolf, I'd be like, Eddie, this is my favorite song. It's because of you. I love Van Halen. And, I just remember him saying that he wasn't supposed to be drinking or anything. He wasn't supposed to be smoking, but he had his little ukulele. It was just me and him. And I'm listening to him playing. What's the chances that that happens? It was just me and him. And,
That's
and then my second favorite song is Kiss, Let Me Go Rock and Roll. I've got a great photo of me and Gene Simmons and his family, because I did the only interview of him and his family for Family Jewels on the TV side. And again, my hat goes off to you guys, because without seeing like the Wrecking Crew and the Funk Brothers film stuff, I would have never have the world have never been open to you guys. And I think it's great now. Everybody's getting a chance to see what you guys have done back in the day to where you guys are now. That's a great thing.
Yeah, it really is, and thank you for bringing that up, Ryan. Like I said before, we're very fortunate, and we're not taking any of this for granted.
No, and you're not, and that's what I like. Like when I first met Leland, I had done 2 interviews with him. I said, Leland, if you're comfortable, come on down to Hollywood to our private studio. It's very clean and open. He goes, okay, I'm not sure about going out. And this is when he was just putting his final touches on the book, and he was telling me about this book, and I didn't know what it was still. And he came with Kenny, because they had played together on certain things. And I was like, he was telling me about this book. He was telling me about Immediate Family and the documentary. He couldn't mention them. And I was like, I want to know more about this documentary. He goes, Brian, you'll be the first to know. And I was. And it was just an honor, because I didn't know that all you guys have been together, because I really didn't know that history. I knew you guys individually of what you had created, because I would always look at the liner notes. And I was a disc jockey back then. I
Yeah.
remember playing, yes, Owner of a Lonely Heart, and mixing it with Richard Pryor on that. And the friend said, oh, this is pretty cool. Who's the guy in the comedy? I'm like, it's Richard Pryor. You don't know him yet, but this is Richard Pryor. And they go, well, you mixed it with Yes. I'm like, yeah, this is what your disc jockey does. And that's how I learned how to do stuff like that. And all my female friends loved James Taylor. And I wasn't into James Taylor then. I was like, nah, this is too slow for me. I can admire the lyrics and stuff. Years later, I got into the lyrics, and I got into listen how crisp the sounds were, and then your drumming. That's when I got in it. So sometimes things come later at it, when you start to mature more later in later years, if that makes sense.
Right, of course it does. Yeah, I'm sure that's true for all of us.
Do you miss playing in a studio?
Well, I do still play in the studio. I still get called to go do things in the studio, but there's never, this past year, it's a different thing. You're playing in a mask, and everyone's, socially distanced. But uh, I just miss playing in general with my bandmates, and we're going to call it band camp. At the end of April, we're going to get together and start firing everything back up again, because we got to
Yeah.
remember how to play together. We haven't done it except for a couple virtual shows that we've done throughout the year. So we're looking forward to getting back and just playing together. And yes, I do miss playing in the studio. And we're going to record a new album in May, so we be right back in there doing that.
Yeah, you guys are right on tour, right on time with everything. Because, like I said, I can see. I've been talking to a couple people who put on John Velasco, who did Elton John's Century Park concert. He's become a friend, because they've all been coming on the show, and it's been interesting to hear in their perspective. And I've been telling them what's been going on in the movie side of things. And I was telling Regal Theaters 5 years ago, going back to 2015, you guys are going to have to change everything going, how people go to see the movies. And then so what they did, they started having lounge chairs, and people bringing you stuff. I'm like, well, yeah, but what about more open air? What about more like Hollywood Bowl or Red Rock out of Denver? I think you guys should start to do more of that stuff, more about driving. Give that experience to people, kids who've never been to a drive-in. What's going on now? Drive-in theaters.
It's true. It's absolutely true. We're a very adaptable species.
Exactly. What would you say to kids who are starting bands now, not being able to play together, but at the same time trying to get together? What advice would you get to these new and upcoming bands that we haven't heard of yet?
Well, I don't know. Until, like we said, the gates open and you can get into a garage and play with like-minded people. Until you can do that, that's my advice to you. To when you can get in a garage with other people that care about music as much as you do, that play other instruments and play till your fingers bleed, until you get good. Because you have to. The first requisite prerequisite is you have to be good.
Yeah.
So get to being good, and then you can worry about the next steps. Right now, the best thing to do is do your homework, do
Yeah.
your due diligence, listen to lots of different kinds of music, study, read books about music. There's so many books, biographies and biographies of the greatest musicians in the world. Get them all and read them and see what their life was like and the lessons that they learned. That would be my suggestion for them to do now during this kind of lockdown period of time. Is do your homework.
I totally agree with that. In the drum corps days in the 70s, how they taught us, they would take kids off the streets and teach you how to play. They didn't teach you how to read because you had to learn stuff really quickly. So I learned to read later, and it was like a great feeling for me because I didn't really start to pick it up until my sophomore year in high school. And for me, I was the later bloomer, but I could pick something off an hour that you were playing, and I could play that, and I can just over and over, and I could pick it up really quickly. That's how we learned in drum corps. What's your advice to people who might be having a problem reading, learning how to read, playing the drums, or picking it up, just being able to mimic this? What kind of drummer were you?
Same as you. I was
Okay.
completely self-taught. My older brother was a drummer, and he introduced me to it. But I learned everything by listening.
Right.
I'd listen to Ginger Baker, I'd listen to Charlie Watts, I'd listen to Ringo Starr, and I just want to be able to play in those kind of grooves and the things that they were doing. And so I listened a lot and got whatever I could from it, and that's how I developed, my I guess my playing style as it is today. And same as you, I came to reading later. When I came to Hollywood and started doing sessions, I was required to, for the most part, in my career, we just would have chord charts. But when I started doing some film scores and TV dates, sometimes there were charts written out specifically for drums, and I had to study a little harder on that. I'd come in early and look over the charts to see if there were any little trouble spots in there, so I'd be a little bit more prepared. But my advice would be, people are going to learn by ear first anyway.
Yeah.
Like guitar players now, the chord tags, the chord tabs for guitar. You can have one on your phone. A lot of people learn how to play guitar by apps on their phone.
Hmm.
So there's lots of different ways. And learning how to read. I mean, the great thing about drums and percussion is that it has note value, but it doesn't have any tonal value.
Yeah.
The staff is divided up into what you hit. And once you memorize that, and once you learn that, and once you continue to just do the books and play things over and over again, your eye starts to look a little bit ahead, so you kind of know what's coming. And there aren't that many variables unless you're playing the black page, and then you're on your own.
Very true. Give you that's funny. Give you social media links for the audience, please.
Social media links,
Yeah.
mine. I actually don't have one. It would be the immediate family link. That would be, I think it's theimmediatefam.com.
Okay.
That's mine for sure. I mean, I'm on Facebook and I'm on Twitter. I think
What would
Twitter's, I
be
think, Pocket Groover.
No, that makes sense, yes.
Yeah.
And what would be your last words of wisdom to people before they come out and see the bands again? What would you say to them? Because they're just chomping just to buy tickets. I mean, today, like I said, with Live Nation, 170,000 tickets were scooped up in like less than 12 hours, if you can imagine that. So if you can imagine what's going to happen, whether it's a small venue, medium, or whatever, they're dying to see you guys live. That's a great thing, you know?
No, it is, and I would say to be safe, be smart, and be safe. You know, come with a mask, and you know if you're going to be in a crowd of people, I would still wear a mask. You know, I'm a real proponent of that. I think that's the best way to stay safe. Keep clean. You know, just be safe, as safe as you can. Follow the requirements. If the requirements for the venue say you don't have to wear a mask and you don't want to, that's fine. But just just follow whatever the requirements are. You know, don't be the splinter. You know, be the band-aid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
With that, Russell, I think I want to thank you so much for coming on Movie Reviews and More. It's an honor, a pleasure. I hope maybe you'll come down with Leland or one of the other guys. It is a safe studio. Like I said, Leland likes it a lot because it is very clean and everything, and I do everything really tiny. And as I always say to people, if you see someone without a smile, please give them one of yours because the world needs it. I'm Brian Sebastian, Movie Reviews and More, and we will see you next week.